Bonjour tout le monde. Aujourd'hui, on va discuter les deux films que j'ai vus pendant mon cours d'encounter. Et no, I'm not going to speak in French the entire time. And I didn't do this to show off, but instead to make a point. If you watching this didn't already know I was an American and native English speaker, would you have believed that you had stumbled upon a French girls video? Maybe. The point is that for a split second, I passed as somebody who was French. And passing to be something other than who you are is what we're going to discuss today. In both films we've watched this year in Encounters, I couldn't help but noticing a theme of identity switching or trying to take on the persona of somebody else. Not as a way to conform, but instead to break conformity and show the flaws in society. These flaws being how oppressive societies expect people to act, look, and be a certain way. Most of the time, different from who the oppressed really are. However, sometimes change is voluntary and used to alter oneself into how they feel to be on the inside. In the case of All About My Mother, in the scene where La Agrado talks about her transformation into being a woman, she goes through the prices of all the surgeries she's had and how they've all made her more authentic. What does authenticity have to do with limitation? Well, by La Agrado going through all of these changes, she has broken out of the limitations of her own body and has been able to take on the identity she wants. However, the surgeries are arguably not only for herself, but for the world around her. We live in a society where to be a woman in the eyes of others, you must have breasts, almond eyes, a smaller jaw, etc. Therefore, by conforming to this image, La Grado is able to not only break the bonds of her former body, but from how society sees what a real and authentic woman is, which is similar to what the women in the Battle of Algiers do in order to plant bombs in places filled with French people. However, contrary to La Grado, these women are not trying to express an identity that they feel on the inside, but rather use traits of a certain identity to progress their agenda. That agenda being the liberation of the Algerian people from the French colonizers. In order for the Algerian people to have their own identity as a group of people and as their own country, they must first try and infiltrate the enemy through means of changing their physical appearances. After the women place the bombs and let them go off, they will be sending a message to France to stop limiting the Algerian people and to allow them the freedom to be who they really are. Here, the women are cutting their hair shorter, putting on makeup, changing clothes, and even for one of them, bleaching their hair so it's lighter. The women know that they will have a hard time if they don't disguise themselves, since they are Algerian and will need to present papers and go through security checkpoints. When the scene eventually shifts, the audience sees how shallow the French check system is. The biases of the security officers are so limited that they are easily fooled by these Algerian women just by them changing their appearances and speaking in French. One of the officers even flirts with one of the women. Meanwhile, the audience sees the contrast in behavior from the women to the Algerian people, being patted down and pushed around by the officers. A couple changes, and the limitations the women used to face vanish, which is similar to how La Grado uses her surgeries in order to pass as an authentic woman. Except that in this case, bodily modifications are being used to start a rebellion. The Algerian women also provide a great example of how easily the system can be bent to our will if we know how shallow it is. As Simone de Beauvoir says, the real woman is one who accepts herself as other. By La Grado and the Algerian women understanding their role as the other, they are able to become real women, or at least the type of women society expects them to be. However, they use their understanding of their place to make a statement about conformity. Blending in is one way to take down the oppressors around you and break out of limitation. The point I'm trying to make here is that some people are able to break out of their limitations through some bodily changes. The oppressors don't notice the difference, and that only highlights how shallow limitation of people can be. These texts show something a lot bigger than that. They show how conformity can actually be used as a battle strategy to fight oppression.